بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today we're still busy with the Basmala. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the previous lessons, I just said Allah Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. In this lesson, inshallah, I'll try and explain what exactly Allah Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim means. Allah basically means there's a couple of ways in which words from which Allah could potentially be derived. One of which is ilahun. Ilahun means a deity, someone which you can believe. And then ilahun, the hamza is dropped and lam al-ta'arif is added. One of my teachers, Maulana Salimi, according to him, the most widely accepted definition is that Allah is a word which is unique. It has no basis. It is just Allah. It's got no plural, no basis, no etymological basis at all whatsoever. Another interesting aspect of the word Allah, if you look at our testification of faith, right? It's written like that, La ilaha illallah, right? And if you look at the letters which make up La ilaha illallah, you'll find that you get the lam, you have a lam, right? You get the alif, which is basically just, the alif is not really a letter, it's just a letter which elongates the letter which comes before that. This is over here, the alif is just carrying letter, it's a hamza, so you get hamza. Lam again, we already have the lam, we already have the alif. Ha, we have the ha, then you have the La ilaha illallah, that's also a hamza. Also a hamza, which we have there already. Lam, alif, which we already have, and Allah. So if you look at our testification of faith, La ilaha illallah, you find that the entire testification of faith can be condensed into three letters. Hamza, Lam, and Ha. The entire testification of faith can be condensed into three letters. If you look at the word Allah, you find that Allah can also be condensed into three letters. Same three letters, Alif, Lam, Hamza. So you find that even from a linguistic perspective, you find the uniqueness, you find that there's no similitude to the word Allah, even from a linguistic perspective. Also, you find that our testification of faith, within our testification of faith, from the perspective of language, you find that the very same letters that make up our testification of faith is the very same letters which make up the word Allah, which is something which is totally amazing, something which no man could have come up with. This ability to have an entire testification of faith which can be condensed into three letters, which just happens to be the very same letters which make up the word Allah, in whom Muslims believe. The second two is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, and there are a couple of differences between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. The first difference between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim is based on the intensity. If you look at the word Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, you find that they both come from the same root, Allah, Ha, Mim, which means mercy. And both Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim are the intensive form of the word mercy. They are both hyperbolic words. However, in Arabic you have a rule, كثرة المباني تدل على كثرة المعاني, which basically means that if you have a word of similar meaning from the same root, the one which has more letters has a much more intense meaning. So for example, if you look at the word qatala, which has three letters, qaf, ta, and lam. So qatala means to kill, right? Now if you look at the word qattala, right, it has the same root, qaf, ta, and lam, but there's one qaf, one ta, another ta, and another lam. So you look at the word qatala and qattala, you find that qatala has 3 letters, whereas qattala has 4 letters. So because the meaning is similar, they have the same root, the meaning would be the same, but qattala would be more intense in meaning than qatala. So qatala would be to kill, qattala would be to massacre, right? So the same with Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. If you look at Ar-Rahman, right, you have Ra, Ha, you have Meen, you have Alif, you have Noon. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ar-Rahim is Ra, Ha, Ya, and Meen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So because Ar-Rahman has 5 letters and Ar-Rahim has 4 letters, you consider Ar-Rahman to be more intense. Less intense. But even though Ar-Rahman is more intense than Ar-Rahim, they are both the intensive form of the word Rahim. The next difference is in how general it is, right? How general it is. One of the differences in meaning, one of the differences which scholars have come up with between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim is that Ar-Rahman is generally considered to be when Allah gives mercy off. Allah gives mercy off to everyone, right? Even to the kuffar, the non-believers, the animals, all mercy that Allah gives off. Because Allah, in and of Himself, Allah decides to be merciful towards His creation. So any mercy that Allah gives off, any mercy, even whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim, and you have to understand that from an Islamic perspective, if someone is a kafir, basically what that means from an Islamic perspective is that individual is being sustained by Allah, that individual has been created by Allah, that in every aspect of that individual's life comes back to Allah, that individual cannot even think, that the individual doesn't even have the power to disobey Allah except if Allah so wishes. So, but yet after all of that, Allah still decides to be merciful towards him. So that all of that is encompassed within the word Ar-Rahman. So Ar-Rahman is a general mercy. Ar-Rahim, however, is a much more specific mercy. What is meant by that is, it is thought that when Allah uses the word Ar-Rahim, it's a particular mercy which Allah has kept, not for the rest of His creation, but Allah has kept that mercy especially for the Muslims. Another difference between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim is usage. On the issue of usage, we have to understand that from an Islamic perspective, when we deal with the names of Allah, whether it be Allah, whether it be Rauf, whether it be Rahim, whether it be Aziz, you have to understand that Allah says in the Quraan that لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ, that there is none that can be compared in any way to Allah. So any aspect, any comparison between creation, any characteristic of creation cannot in any way be compared to Allah, right? In any way whatsoever. However, from a linguistic perspective, the word Ar-Rahman is a word which is unique to Allah, unique to Allah. Whereas Ar-Rahim can be used for creation as well. So what that means is, even though the word Ar-Rahman is used for Allah and Allah alone, whereas the word Ar-Rahim can be used for creation. And the basis for Ar-Rahman being used for Allah and Allah alone is that Allah says in the Quran, قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ وَادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنَ. At least Ibn Kathir, his name is Abu al-Fida Imaduddin Ismail Ibn Kathir al-Damashqi. He was born in the year 701 Hijri in Busra, and then he was orphaned at a young age. At the age of 5 in the year 706 Hijri, his older brother took him to Damascus, and at that point in time, Damascus was a center of Islamic knowledge, a center of learning. And there in Damascus, he studied, he learned, and he became a scholar. He became a scholar of history, he became a scholar of biography, he became a scholar of Shafi'i jurisprudence, he became a scholar of history, and obviously he became a scholar of exegesis. Eventually, in the year 774 Hijri, Ibn Kathir died in Damascus, and he's most well known as Damascus, even though he technically was not born in Damascus. So one of the bases that Ibn Kathir uses for coming to the conclusion that Ar-Rahman is used for Allah and Ar-Rahim purely in the word, purely the word Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. One of the bases is used that Ar-Rahman can be used for Allah and Allah alone is that Allah says in the Quran, قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ وَادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنَ. However, in the Quran, Allah also says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. And when Allah describes Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, one of the ways in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is being Rahim. So purely from the perspective of language, the word Ar-Rahman is used for Allah and Allah alone. No one can be referred to as Ar-Rahman. You can't say someone is Ar-Rahman. You can't say someone is Rahman. Or even you can refer to someone as Rahim. But even though it's used from the perspective of language, the actual attribute, the manner in which Allah is Rahim cannot be compared to creation. If I can use an example, I'm big, right? I'm very big. Compared to an ant, I'm huge. I'm huge compared to an ant. But if you compare me to the universe, if you look at the universe, you'll say the universe is big. But the comparison between myself and the universe, you cannot really compare. But yet you'd use the word big for me and you'd use the word big for the universe. But the comparison of the universe, the size of the universe cannot in any way be compared to me. So I'm big when you compare me to an ant. The universe is big compared to anything. So that is the way that we see Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman is a word which is used for Allah and Allah alone. Ar-Rahim is a word which can be used for Allah as well as creation. But the manner in which Allah is Ar-Rahman cannot be compared to the manner in which creation is Ar-Rahman. Are there any questions? Any questions?
I would like to ask the word Allah and the way in which it's written in Arabic.
Yeah.
I've read that in the Arabic Bible, in the Old Testament, the word Allah is written exactly the same in Arabic as what it is in Islam.
I've never seen
Like,
the
what is
old, I've never seen the old Arabic Bible. So.
Oh, okay. It's quite interesting. I went to a lecture in...
You still use that word for God as well.
It makes sense because Allah is Allah. The thing is that in Islam we have taken certain words and we have so to speak usurped those words. There are certain words which have general meanings and we as Muslims have given it a very specific meaning. So Allah is basically Allah is basically the one we worship. But we as Muslims have taken the word Allah and made it and made it our and use it as the name for our the one whom we worship.
What I find fascinating is not to say that we took the word from there. What I find fascinating is that there are so many things that are the same in the Old Testament of the Arabic Bible and what we believe in our teachings. And if you look at the Old Testament and then the New Testament in the Arabic Bible, then Allah does not occur in the New Testament. So it's just quite interesting that there is a correlation between the Old Testament and the Quran, because many of the things that are in the Old Testament we can say is what we believe as well. So it's just quite interesting, and it's fascinating that even that Allah with all those meanings that we believe it's just fascinating how it all worked out linguistically. I mean it is a miracle in itself. So yeah, cool.
Anything else?
Is there any questions on the lady side? No questions? Okay, shukran.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. If I've said anything which is out of line, I ask you forgiveness. If I've said anything which is true, I ask you that you make dua for me. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen.
Yo,
Muslim.
Batu.